Hello friends, it's Jiftesh from encodeDigital. In today's tutorial, we will see how we can do the text-to-speech with Amazon Polly in CodeIgniter. So this will be hopefully very quick video, but it will help you in case you are building any application where you want to read the text, anything, and we will look into the various voices and the engines we can use into that one. So let's make a start. So we will be creating this one. So we will have a very simple basic text to speech where we can enter a text, generate a speech, and then we can also display all the historic speeches we have created from our text. Uh, Step by step, the first step is that we need to have an account with AWS console. So if you haven't, please create one. Once you have created, then you can go into IAM. Of course, it is here, but if you can't see, then just search here IAM. And once you that one, click IAM and then click on users. And within users, I have to create a new user and I can name it as encodeDigital Poly because we're using AWS Poly. You can name it anything. So if I click next, then we have to assign a group. Of course, I can see the Poly group here. You will not be able to see. So click create group. And within the search here, you can select Poly. And then for that one, select the full access one and create user group. So I already have that, so I don't need to. So once it is here, then for that user, just select so that you can give Amazon Poly full access and click next. Once you have done that one, then you can create a user. So for the user it is created, then click on the encode that particular user, and then we can give, we can create the, let's see, create an access key for that particular user because we will need the access ID and the secret key in order for our application to talk to the AWS. So there are a few use cases. We want to use the, because we are running application outside AWS, we're not running on the EC2. So we can use application running outside AWS and click next. And here you can give any tag name if you want, but this is optional. So I'm gonna say create access key. Once you do that one, it will give you the access key and the secret key for that one. So you can copy these ones. This will be only displayed once, but of course you can create another access key if you lost that one, but keep note of those ones. And we need this one in our CodeIgniter application. Okay, let's look into the code itself. Now, from the code perspective, I'm not going to write type. I want to spend more time on explaining rather than typing. So what I've done is I have just installed CodeIgniter with a composer. So you can do that one. And after that, first of all, go into the .env. I have, because in .env it's my keys which I don't want to show. So I, for just for this video, I created .env dash demo. So in that one, enter AWS region. You can put it US East 1. I will come in a second why region matters. And then AWS access key ID, which you got from here, and the secret access key, the one here. You can name it again, anything, any of those ones. These are your parameters we will be using in the code. Now, let me explain the poly itself. So, and why that I said region matters. So if you guys, I go back to the AWS console. So if you want to create text to speech one-off, it is not like you want to program it. Maybe you need it for your voicemail or any other use case, but it is ad hoc basis. Then you don't need to write this code. You don't need to do that one because Amazon gives Amazon Poly. You can search as well. If you go to Amazon Poly, it gives you basically GUI to create the speech itself. And what you will see is there are 4 different engines: generative, long form, neural, and standard. Generative is using generative AI. is more expressive and adapted, similar to the neural one. Long form is used for like the audible books. If you have the long books, it deals with that better. Standard, to be honest, I don't like the quality of standard, so go for either neural or generative. But generative is not available everywhere. That's the reason I said region matters. So if you go here, like I have selected the US East one, but if I select London, then you will see that generative and long form is not available. It's only neural and standard. So that is the reason you have to specify which region you are using. Okay, and I'm going to use East one. And also there's plenty of languages. The options are there. So it's as you can see, but it again depends on region and what type it. If it's generative, as you can see, many of those ones are grayed out. But if I select neural, then all of them are available. So, but you can select I am in England, so I will be using English British. But as you can see, there are a lot of different languages you can choose, and also voice as well varies. So if I'm on generative, then I can use British English, but I have only available Amy as a female. And these things, like I said, you can write any text here and then you can listen to it. You can download that one, which is good for ad hoc purpose. But if you want programmatically, if your application needs this, that's what I'm going to show how you're going to do that one. Okay. So, but what you need to make sure is that, yeah, you need to know the engine as we see, where you need to know the voice name and of course the AWS region. Okay, going back to our code now. So we have set up our AWS key. Now the things which we need to know is, in our application, so we have just one page application. So we need to have the view for that. So what we will do is, so let me go to the app. First of all, let's create a route. So in the routes, I have created, so one is the get route. So this is for dash poly. Poly, I've going to create, or I have created the controller, and it is having a method of index. This is for the get, and for the post, I'm saying poly slash generate. That is our URL, and then for poly as the controller and generate as a method. Okay, so these two get and post methods we will be using. So let's begin with this one. So let's go into our controllers, and as you can see, I have created poly. Okay, so in that one, ignore this commented code. I will explain to you later on. I want to go from simple to the next level so that it's easy for you guys to understand. So ignore that bit right now. So for poly user controller, for poly controller, I have the method as index for the get. All I'm doing is returning a view. Okay, so we need to create this view. If I go to the views, as you can see, poly underscore form, I have created a view, and it is very simple, just basic HTML. I'm put the CDN version of Tailwind CSS, but I have a separate video how you can integrate Tailwind CSS with CodeIgniter properly. Have a look at that one. That is for version 3. Tailwind has launched version 4 as well recently, so I will do another video on the version 4 because they're slightly changed, but you can look into that one if you to, and stay tuned for the version 4 video as well. So then you are in the just one div. What I'm doing is basically have the h2 for the text to speech, this one, then the text area here. This is the form text area, and the button. This is just to show that any error message or the success message once it is generated. Okay, let's try to see that one. So for our integration, of course, this one is right now we only doing the, right now I'm showing the only the get page, but for the post, when we generate the text image, we will need to have the package of AWS, because of course we are integrating with the AWS SDK. So you will need to do the composer require AWS slash AWS dash SDK dash PHP. So please install that one. I already have installed, as you can see if I show you in my composer.json. As you can see, I already have that package. Okay, so just install that package. All right, so if I do PHP Spark serve, okay, and if I go to, this is of course I haven't changed anything on the home page from the standard CodeIgniter installation. If I go to Poly, so you can see that it is showing this one. You will see that is a difference. Previously I shown the history. That is a bit the code which I have commented. We will come on to that one. Right now we just want to create it. Okay, so our get page is working. So now let's look into the post page. So it means the post code. So in the controller itself, so let's go back. So in our route, if I go to routes again, remember we had the post route which goes to poly/generate, and for the controller it is going to the generate. So we need to look into the method of generate. So in the poly, so I have the method generate. Okay, so what we're doing here, so first of all I'm using the helper class of file system because we're going to save our generated mp3 file somewhere, and I'm going to save in the public folder, and I'm going to create as the voices as the folder. So create this folder as a voices within the public folder, and then we will start saving our mp3s over there. Okay, so then I am getting the post as a text. As you can see in our form, the text area has a name as text. So when in the form it is coming, I am checking as text. If it is empty, then I'm returning error, text is required. This is the code where this session flashed data is done. So we can look into this action. So if I just click here, you can see text is required. Okay, so this is coming from there. So we're good so far. Now this is the next bit, which is integrating with the AWS SDK. Okay, very simple. Poly client we have to import. So we are importing use AWS/poly client. So I am creating client, new poly client with the version latest. Region I am fetching from environment, AWS region. Remember we updated in our .env file, and we have to pass on our credentials, the key and the secret. Okay, this is the key. So after this one, then we basically connecting to the AWS, and this is used for any other AWS APIs, for example S3, anything like that one. So you can, this is the SDK, so you will be able to integrate any of the APIs from the AWS. Then the next one is, this is where we're going to create now the speech, the voice. So what we need to do is just a variable result so that we can get results. So for that client which we created, and then we calling the function synthesize speech, and in that one we sending some parameters. So we're sending the text, of course we want to convert text into speech, output format mp3. Now these are the two key things, voice ID and the engine. So this is where I was saying the voice ID, you can, for whichever the language you're using, just you pick up that name. So for my, it is Amy. Let's say if you're using anything, I don't know, if you're doing German, then you can just say Vicky or Daniel, like that one. So you just need to pick the name. Okay, for me it is Amy. So I have Amy over here, and the engine. Okay, so I am using the engine as generative. If you're using neural, type write neural, standard, or long dash form. So as you can see, I just put some examples here. So if I am using another voice ID, just give the name and the engine as a neural. Okay, then file name, I'm just saying unique id.mp3, just giving the unique file name, and this is where I'm saving. So file path to the public folder, then I'm saying voices folder which are created, and then with that file name, and then we are writing at that path result we got it from the AWS synthesized speech and the audio stream. So that's what we will do. It will save the file, and I am redirecting back to the poly with a success message, and it will be saved, and then it will be generated. Okay, let's have a look. So if I do go, let's say this is our, so we can say that welcome to encodeDigital YouTube channel, keep learning and progressing. Okay, if I click generate, it now calling the AWS API and the speech has generated. Of course, we haven't put the code to show in here, which we're going to do next, but let's look into it has created. So if I go to my public voices, it has created, of course, I created a couple of them before as well, but let's see into this one. If I play,
This is test message.
this is the one. Let me see.
Welcome to encodeDigital YouTube channel. Keep learning and progressing.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's look into the code so that we don't need to come back to the code. We can view on the page itself. For that one, what I have done in our index function is that, when we're doing the poly view, that view, in the view, we can show. So I hit that code. It's just very simple. Let me uncomment it. Okay. I've just given the horizontal line just so that show the difference, and then I put the h3 tag as a history, and then I'm checking if the history, I'm going to pass on the data as part of the history variable. So checking is it empty. If it is empty, then if not empty, then I'm going to the for loop because that will be the array. And then for each of those ones, I am displaying the time that file was created and basically the audio itself. Okay, very simple code. And if there is no history, means no file there, then it will just say no generated file yet. Okay, let's save this one. And in our the function, the method of the get, as you can see, we are using the history variables. We need to pass on the data now to the view. So I will delete this one. So rather than we returning empty to the view, let me uncomment this one. By the way, if you don't know, in the Visual Studio Code, you can do selection and then you say Control KC to comment them and Control KU to uncomment it. Okay. So what I'm doing is basically I am from public path voices. I am fetching all the MP3 files and it will come into files and array. Then I'm doing array map, and with this callback function, so I'm doing on files with the callback function, basically for each and every file, I am getting its file name, timestamp. Timestamp will be in the Unix, and so I'm then converting into the human readable timestamp so that we can display on our website. Okay, so that gives me, again, in the history variable, everything. All I need to do is now sort it. So what I want to do is I want to show the recently generated speech on the top and like in descending order. So that's what the uSort function does. It takes that array and then it keeps on checking and then sort it out basically with the newest first. And then I'm returning same thing to the same view, but this time I am passing history as a history, this one. So this will be used as a variable on the view $history. Now I'm assuming you are quite close to the CodeIgniter. So this is very basic within the CodeIgniter, but if not, don't worry. I'm going to do lots of tutorials on the CodeIgniter. I love the framework. So if you like to learn, yeah, please subscribe or you can stay tuned. Okay, so with that way, we are sending the history back to the form. For the code we already have to display that one. So all I need to do is just refresh it and you can see all our, of course, I created this one with you guys. I created these ones before you.
Welcome
So
to
if I play,
encodeDigital YouTube channel. Keep learning and progressing.
that's true. Keep learning and progressing. So that's pretty much it, guys. I know this is the Amazon Poly, and then there is Google provides as well. So I'm planning to do text to speech on the Google API because Amazon Poly is free for first year. After that, they charge, although the cost is very less. But I will show you in the Google API. Google API gives, I think, the monthly free as well. So it depends upon usage, and also it gives more languages as well. For example, it provides Punjabi as a language as well, and so many others which are not in the AWS. So and also good to compare. So if you guys want to view that one again, stay connected, and I will do that video soon. Any questions, any um, thing you want to ask, put into the comments and I'll hopefully come back to you. Speak to you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.